just in that Iran directly threatened America?
Tom, tonight NBC News has learned that message from Iran was conveyed to President Trump by an intermediary during last week's G7 summit, warning the president if he launched airstrikes against Iran's nuclear facilities, Iran could respond by unleashing terrorist attacks on the U.S. by activating sleeper cells it has inside this country, according to U.S. officials, all as we learn new details about those historic strikes.
Tonight, the new video, B-2 bombers returning to their Missouri base after those secretive strikes. And now our first look at the targets they hit inside Iran. These before and after images show the massive impact of the U.S. attack on Isfahan, one of 3 Iranian nuclear facilities hit.
Initial battle damage assessments indicate that all 3 sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction.
The commander-in-chief with this declaration overnight.
I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
Pentagon officials say it's too soon to tell, but tonight the U.S. is also preparing for potential Iranian retaliation, though the Trump administration emphasizes the attack was intended as a limited one-time strike.
We're not at war with Iran. We're at war with Iran's nuclear program.
President Trump inside the Situation Room with Vice President Vance, his Secretaries of State and Defense, as well as Chief of Staff Susie Wiles and Joint Chiefs Chairman Dan Kane. The president issuing this warning to the Iranian regime.
Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen.
The historic U.S. military operation complex and choreographed. The nuclear sites targeted, Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordo, buried deep beneath an Iranian mountain. The U.S. adding the element of surprise, with the president giving the final green light 48 hours after announcing he would take up to 2 weeks to decide whether to strike.
Just a time to see whether or not people come to their senses.
First, the apparent decoys. On Saturday morning, B-2 stealth bombers launching from Missouri flying west. Hours before the B-2s used in the actual strikes headed east. The U.S. deploying 14 30,000-pound bunker-busting bombs for the first time in a military operation. In this satellite image of Fordo, if you zoom in, you can see several holes from the bunker-busting bombs, which explode underground. The B-2s also dropping them on Natanz.
They dropped 30,000-pound bombs on a target the size of a washing machine.
U.S. submarines firing Tomahawk missiles to hit the Isfahan site. In all, 125 U.S. warplanes and 75 precision-guided munitions used. And the Pentagon says Iran never fired a single shot.
This operation underscores the unmatched capabilities and global reach of the United States military.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth pinning the praise on President Trump.
Many presidents have dreamed of delivering the final blow to Iran's nuclear program, and none could until President Trump.
And after Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard in March said Iran had an unprecedented amount of enriched uranium for a non-nuclear state, but that the Ayatollah had not ordered the development of a nuclear weapon, Secretary of State Marco Rubio argued the Iranian threat was urgent.
It doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons.
Peter Alexander, NBC News, the White House.
Now to the stealth operation. Tonight, we take you inside the warplanes and submarines that fired on Iran's nuclear facilities, the largest B-2 strike in U.S. history. NBC's Courtney Kube with the plan of attack tonight.
Tonight, new details about Operation Midnight Hammer. Just after midnight Saturday morning, a group of U.S. Air Force stealth B-2 bombers took off from Whiteman Air Force Base under the cover of darkness. Defense officials said they were headed to Guam, but 7 of the bombers quietly flew in the opposite direction.
Part of the package proceeded to the west and into the Pacific as a decoy, a deception effort known only to an extremely small number of planners and key leaders.
Flying in near silence to avoid detection, the bombers, each with 2 crew members and loaded with 2 30,000-pound bombs each, began their 36-hour round-trip flight, made possible by dozens of tankers refueling them in the air along the way. At 5 p.m. Saturday night, a large group of fighter jets joined the bombers as they approached Iranian airspace. At the same time, a U.S. Navy submarine launched 30 Tomahawk missiles towards Iran. Less than 1 hour later, the bombers entered Iranian airspace and some of the jets sped ahead, targeting any Iranian air defenses that could threaten the B-2s and ready to take on any Iranian jets that scrambled in their path. At 6:40 p.m., the U.S. began striking 3 locations, dropping 14 massive ordnance penetrators known as bunker busters on Fordo and Natanz, just as Tomahawk missiles crashed down on a 3rd site at Isfahan. By 7:30 p.m., all of the aircraft were safely out of Iranian airspace. According to the Pentagon, Iran never fired a shot at the U.S. aircraft.
Iran's fighters did not fly, and it appears that Iran's surface-to-air missile systems did not see us. Throughout the mission, we retained the element of surprise.
The B-2 bomber, the only aircraft in the world that can deploy the massive bomb, this marked the largest B-2 strike in history. A historic mission cloaked in secrecy.
Courtney Kube joins us live from the Pentagon. And Courtney, this is the first time these types of bunker busters were used in combat. What else can you tell our viewers about them?
Yeah, that's right, Tom. These 30,000-pound bombs are uniquely suited to target underground facilities like the one at Fordo. They're equipped with GPS trackers, and their extremely strong casing allows them to punch through reinforced concrete and drill down up to 200 feet. You can see 3 of the holes that they made there in that picture before they even detonate. Tom?
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.